Today we're talking all about impulse control and delayed gratification. Your child's ability to hold themselves back from accessing preferred things in a moment that they want that thing. I'm Carrie Woodward. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst, and I've been working with autistic children and adults for over 20 years now. As a behavior analyst, I have a pretty unique perspective on children and behavior. Most people think all kids are born with the ability to be impulsive or non-impulsive, to be patient or not patient. And I strongly feel like all of these are just other behaviors that we can work on teaching and strengthening for our kids. Sure, some kids come into this world and easier learn things like impulse control and how to delay their own gratification, but I really do feel like every kid can learn how to do it if we address it in a systematic way. There was this very old psychology study that took young kids and essentially offered them a marshmallow. But they told the child that if they could wait 15 minutes, that they would get 2 marshmallows at the end of the 15 minutes, and then the child was left alone. So essentially they didn't have any adults watching them, and they had to make the decision on whether or not they wanted that 1 marshmallow now, or if they delayed their gratification and got 2 marshmallows in 15 minutes. And the study then looked at the results of which child chose the now and which child could wait the 15 minutes, and they followed these children throughout their adolescence and adulthood and looked at what long-term outcomes were. Now, it's basically a correlational study. They had no proof that this one impulse control issue in early childhood was the direct cause of later outcomes, but there was a very strong correlation that kids that could delay their own gratification, that could stop themselves from accessing reinforcement right now in order to get something good later, had much better outcomes down the line. They were better in school academically. They had better disciplinary records. They ended up in jail less often. They held jobs more sturdily. So there's a lot that can be said about kids learning how to delay their own gratification. And I think that what this study showed a lot of parents was that if they had an impulsive child, that child was just destined for failure. And I disagree. I feel like every child can learn how to control their impulses with enough work and effort put toward teaching them. So here's how we do it. Every child can be successful if what we're asking of them is small enough. So we start really small, especially if we know that our kid is pretty impulsive. I worked on this with my own son when he was 2 years old. Now, my son is neurotypical, he's not autistic. However, most 2-year-olds are pretty impulsive and have a very hard time delaying their own gratification. And so we worked on just taking some Easter candy that was left over from the Easter holiday, and I just put it right in front of my child and I told him to wait. Okay, ready? I need you to wait. Good waiting. You may have it. You may take it. Go ahead. Good waiting. But I didn't make him wait for long because I know that he's not capable of doing that. If we want our kids to be successful, we set them up for success by giving them tasks that we know that they can achieve. So I told him to wait, and I waited for 5 seconds before I said, "Great job!" Every single time I did it, I put the jelly bean in front of him, I told him to wait, and then I gradually increased the time, bit by bit by bit.
Eat them.
Wait. Good job. You may have it. Good. Till eventually I was able to put the jelly bean on the table, say wait, and he would move around. He'd get up from the table, he'd get on his scooter, he'd ride around. He would do things to sort of entertain himself while he was waiting to get the jelly bean. Okay, go ahead, you can have it. Good job, Baba. And we were up to a couple of minutes, which I think is pretty impressive for a 2-year-old. It doesn't mean you can stop there. We had to work on generalizing the skill outside of just a jelly bean and in the very contrived settings where I said it right in front of him when he was sitting down, the word wait needed to be used in a variety of different contexts where he had to stop himself from moving forward, stop his body, stop himself from reaching out and grabbing something that he wanted. Wait. Hey, high five! And good waiting, you may have your jelly bean. But every kid can work on it in that way. So here's how you do it. You identify something that your child is incredibly motivated for in that moment. You're gonna wanna start in a very structured way and gradually move into more natural contexts. Set the item out in front of your child and then tell your child to wait. You might need to physically block your child's hands down into their lap at the very beginning because this is a brand new skill for them. I would say wait until your child has set their hands in their lap and they're not immediately trying to reach up for it, and then immediately tell them, great job waiting, you can take it. Keep increasing the time by a few seconds in the beginning. Get to the point where you no longer have to block their hands down, but you can just set the item down and say, wait, and then see that your child puts their hands down and is not reaching forward for the item. Start with 2 seconds, move to 5 seconds, move to 10, 15, 30, a minute. You can gradually build up time. So if you knew for certain that your child would not ever be able to sit and wait for 15 minutes for something that they totally loved, that's okay. You start at 2 seconds and you can gradually get them to 15 minutes. So even though your child might be impulsive today, that doesn't mean that it's not a skill that you can teach and strengthen for your child. You can work on giving them this incredible gift of impulse control and delaying their own gratification. Have you worked on this strategy with your child? Have you been able to teach your child how to delay their own gratification? Have you run into any roadblocks as you're working on this with your child? Leave it in the comments below, the things that you've struggled with, so we can work as a community on developing some troubleshooting strategies that are going to help support your child in acquiring this valuable skill. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so that you can follow along and learn all about things related to autism and behavior.